All right, this is the scene that I want to paint in my sketchbook. I just love this little chapel here and the fact that it's kind of being outlined by these trees here, and then the distant trees in the back. So that's what we're gonna go for, something here, quick and dirty. I'm gonna be painting in this Pentalic sketchbook. I've been mostly using this for gouache, so we're gonna do that. And then we're gonna be using some interesting colors. So I'm gonna be using Prussian blue, which is a muted blue, and Indian red, which is muted red. And then I'm gonna be using cadmium orange, which is a very bright orange, and that's gonna be my yellow. So we're gonna be using kind of a fascinating triad of colors that really has weak yellows and a very, basically 2 primaries and a secondary, and see what we can get with that, plus white. I'm going to do a quick compositional sketch, and I'll come in here and try to just kind of draw this quickly because I don't have a lot of time and I want to come in with paint. So I'm going to put this arch tower in the center here, and bring it down like this. Actually, there's kind of a part that comes across like this, and I should measure the distance from here on down. So let me do that. I'm taking my pencil and I'm measuring kind of from this first part, and then from that part down, it's about halfway from here down to here is going to be where the windows are, roughly speaking. So this is called kind of comparative measurement, and that it can be really helpful to like take different aspects of, you know, a scene that you're drawing and then compare it to something else. So when I'm looking at the distance from the windows to that ridge, I would say about halfway between that is the roof. Slopes down like this. And there's trees all in here, tree bows. Right? And this part's in shadow. It's faceted. I know that this comes down here, but it's really blocked by some trees. And again, another tree comes in here. Like that. I do know that there's these 3 windows. Another tree here, and then we have this tree line that comes along in the background like that. Okay, so this is kind of, maybe, I think this needs to be thinner. Make that thinner quite a bit. There's a cross at the top. And this is more vertical. Okay, I think that that will work for a sketch. I'm going to see how much that I can get done with this large round brush. So I want to put in the sky. So I will mix up some of this Prussian blue with some white. Wow, my paint really dried. And let's get a little bit of orange just to desaturate that blue a little bit so it's not quite so powerful. And really come in with some white. Get a little bit more blue and a little bit of red to warm it up. But I want to think about tonal values and warm versus cool. The sky is obviously going to be quite cool and quite bright, so I need to add a lot of white. Okay. So let me kind of follow this ridge line here. I think it could be wider than that. Let me squeeze out some more paint. All right, new paint has been squeezed. Let's continue. So let me grab some more white because I think I want to lighten that up quite a bit. A little bit of blue, a little bit of Prussian, but I don't want it to be too saturated. Let's see. I like that better. The nice thing about these round brushes is that you can cover quite a lot of ground with them. Pretty quickly, even though they're round. Okay. That will work for now for dropping the sky in. Here, let me fix this area here. There we go. Okay, so let's mix up a green for the distance. I'm going to use some ultra Prussian blue. I got to remember what colors I'm doing, and orange here. And this is kind of the only type of green I'm going to get, so it's a very warm, desaturated green. I'm going to shift it towards blue a little bit for the shadows. And we'll kind of put some of these shadows in the background. Okay. Maybe something like that. These are the shadows of the distant trees. And then we'll add quite a bit of orange to that for the warmer bits, and quite a bit of white to it for the lighter, to get the lightness that we want. And so, because I have two primaries, Indian red and Prussian blue, which are really kind of muted, I'm going to get, decent combinations between these two, but making orange my secondary essentially serve as my yellow. You can see what it's doing to our greens. And this is really a way to get interesting greens. Let me add more white to that. So I'm kind of laying these on top, creating depth as we would, but I really am getting pretty weak brownish greens here. And that's all right. And I might come in and reinforce some of the bluer aspects of the shadows. Okay. Great. Okay, so let's put in a shadow color for this. So I'm going to mix in a red and some Prussian blue to get a strong, maybe a little bit more red into that. A little bit of my orange, warm it up. And let's come in and get our brush to a point, and then I'm going to get the shadow side. The shadow, a couple of the facets. There's some darkness in here and in here. Truth be told, the mixture between blue, Prussian blue, and Indian red gives us something that's very close to black. Let me drop in some of my darks for the windows. And thinking about my tonal values, the darker my color is, my tonal value, the closer to us it will seem. So likewise, I'm going to use some of these blacks for the silhouetted shapes of the trees. Set sort of the tonal precedent, and we can come over this, of course, kill some of this white. Okay. So there's just a little bit of this brick that is in light. Let me use some Indian red and quite a bit of white. And I'm going to use some of my orange to warm it up. It's hitting the sunlight. And basically this part, I'm going to add a little bit more orange to that. is getting quite a bit of sunlight right in here. I'm gonna add some more orange. Just a touch of this blue to desaturate it. Blue and orange are complements. And quite a bit of white. For the light side of these facets. So as this comes down, I'm going to darken it a little bit with some more blue to make a difference on this facet here. And then let's get a color in for the roof. I'll use this plus some white and maybe a little bit of orange. Create a nice gray. A little bit more orange to warm that up. And quite a bit more white. Now, I can add a bit of blue into that because, and maybe a little bit of red too, because there's a shadow now, a shadow side of the roof. Maybe it needs a little bit more blue into that mixture. Okay, let's take our brick color, but we'll add more red, a little bit more blue for the shadow side. Okay. Might add a little bit more red into that just to saturate it a little bit more and differentiate that color from the tower, because this is wet, it's kind of all gonna bleed, and you can do wet on wet with gouache. Okay, so let's get some of the dark greens of the foreground foliage. I'm gonna use that color over here as well. More of a dry brush effect. Okay. And then with this highlight color, I need to add quite a bit of white, maybe quite a bit of orange too. To get some of the highlights. Dry brush texture. So really getting some nice desaturated, very desaturated greens. Put in some more highlights here. Different bows. I could add some more white. And it really is, what I'm looking at, it is kind of orangey because of the setting sunlight. Okay. I need to get in some of the foliage that's bluish. So more blue and orange, but a lot of blue. That's overlapping here. Likewise, this side too. That's a really nice green, actually. All right, I want to create sort of a greenish brown. Let me add some red to this green. Whoa, way too much. This is a nice greenish brown. Let me add some more blue to it to darken it a little bit. And let's come in and add some of the branches and stuff. Desaturate that green a little bit. Create just kind of the suggestion of trees. Actually, even more blue, I think, to darken down some of the branches down in here. I really like that. I'm going to draw just at the tip here. Put the cross up there. Kind of nice. Let's see. Let me add some highlights onto that. I'm going to add quite a bit of orange into these highlights. And a lot more white too. because some of these branches are like getting hit with light. Let's come in some more of the sky color. Let me just sort of soften some of these edges. Try to blend that in. And there really is like this distant green from the background that's poking through these holes in the chapel. Mix up some blue and orange, and then quite a bit of white. And put some of that in like right here. And right next to it over here. I think I want to try and darken down this facet here because it's two-dimensional. So I'm gonna add a little bit of red, just grab kind of a grayish color. Okay, let me see if I can darken down this facet here. Let me come in with some strong darks. So Prussian blue and Indian red, which is gonna make like my kind of a black, and kind of push the darks in the foreground. Yeah, add just a little bit of orange to that. Just a little bit of orange, just a little bit. And take some of that highlight color, put it down here. And this has just kind of been a fun little sketch that we've done, creating some varieties of greens. Varieties of tones, but using an interesting color palette. And I do think that you get some really cool results. Kind of a drier texture, just kind of darken. Some of these. Some of those areas. I don't want to do every piece of tree, but create that proper contrast, I think. Just keep layering until we get the results we want. So creating this sort of this is really a blue coming over the top of these other tones and creating variety. And what I love, this is one of the things I absolutely love about gouache, is the ability to, create texture like this, to go over some of the things we've already gone over, and just to create that illusion of texture and depth and color and all of those fun things that we're playing around with. Really enjoyed that. Okay. Let me create just a little bit more effect in the background, I think. Bring in a little bit more of the blues. Bring a little bit of that red in. Create just some more shadows in the background. A little bit more definition there. Kind of a purpley color. Yeah, that's really nice. I'm gonna change the sky a little bit. Put in some orange. And a little bit of blue. And like a lot of white. So we're going back now. Might as well repaint the whole thing. Okay. I think that gets like a more accurate tonal value. So let's just reassert some of these darks in the trees. A little bit of Indian red and Prussian blue. And then lighten that up a little bit with some orange. And a slight dry brush. Let's reassert some of those branches. A little bit of highlight here. Draw the cross back in. Let's go ahead and take the tape off. Nice contrast, interesting colors, interesting greens, really fun. We've totally lost the light now, but here's what we got. Really nice, fun contrast. The sun has set behind the hill, and so we will bid you adieu. Happy sketching.